Okay. All right. All right. All right. Welcome, good people. Welcome to meditation, guided meditation classes that I'm doing here. My name is Mike Zattel. I'm a Buddhist meditation teacher, and I'm coming bringing some guided meditation, some guided instruction, maybe even a little bit of Buddhist psychology theory. Um, yeah. So this week, what we're doing is, I believe the title is Cultivating Wise Attention, turning our attention towards the womb of consciousness. Yeah. So there's this term, or that's an interpretation, a translation of the term Yoniso manasikāra. Um, Attention, it's all the rage. It's, or maybe it's all the issues that a lot of us have. Whether we are born with an attention deficit disorder, or we have cultivated something along those lines based on our modern day lifestyle that we lead with this constant partial attention, um, distraction that's happening all the time. Our attention always seems to be at issue. Yeah. There are so many videos, so many courses on, time management and how to become more effective in this world and such. Um, in the Buddhist context, attention is very, very core. It's very, very foundational. It's, a lot of the languaging and terms, waking up, clear seeing. We are cultivating ways of understanding and attuning to know our thoughts and our sensations, understand even the intentions, actions, and fruits. Yeah, if we get into some Buddhist theory, it's really just understanding kind of the full action, or karma, meaning action, really understanding kind of the source where something originates, the actions that occur, and then, the effects, the consequences of such actions, really. So, for us to be able to understand all these facets of our subjective experience, I mean, we need attention. That's our main tool. When we open up the toolbox, the attention is the main tool that we need. So, um, oftentimes in cultivating attention, exercises people are given, contacting the breath, working with breath work, counting breath. There's all sorts of kind of tricks and gimmicks or ways that we can work cultivating attention. So, what I would like to explore is a maturity, or how is it that we can cultivate this attention to be uh, a more mature expression within the Buddhist context. So, Yoniso manasikāra, yeah, wise attention, unwise attention. It's where we live. Uh, Quite literally, getting lost in distraction. So the default mode network, discrete regions of the brain working in concert together when we are not engaged in an activity, or not uh, ingratiated into the sensory experience of our environment. Yeah, if we're kind of pulled back and just kind of flaking out a little bit, just bopping back to thoughts of the past, going into future projections of hypothetical scenarios that could happen. There's a lot of kind of guilt and depressive qualities in the past, a lot of anxiety in the future. And all of this is what we're cultivating unconsciously. It is the default mode network. Literally, it's where we live. So we can look at a lot of the meditation work as attempting to move that dial, to quiet down that default mode network. And, we can look at cultivating stronger sense of the attentional faculties, but leaning into that attentional faculties, what's a mature expression of that? So again, the term Yoniso Manasakara, wise attention. So uh, if we can really get into that, really yoniso manasakara, turning attention towards the womb, yeah, not the physical womb, but the womb of consciousness, where the womb is what gestates and produces the baby. uh in this context, it's what gestates and produces consciousness. So how is it that we can be aware of that, hmm, that activity, that non-activity, that being, that just knowing, from which things arise and fall, and resting our attention in that. Um, and if we were to go into a little bit of Buddhist psychology, when they talk about seeing, the experience of seeing. What's involved in that is not just my eyes are open and I'm looking at something. It talks about the eye consciousness. Yeah. Well, there's the consciousness, then there's the eye consciousness as it really leans into that which is knowing the world by, well, seeing. Then there's the act of seeing. Then there's the object of what is seen, whatever it is you're looking at. And then we can go further as well. What's the reaction that comes, that arises from that if we move towards a dependent origination context? But all of that is involved in the act of seeing. Normally, when we think of seeing, it's just my eyes open and I'm looking at something. That in the Buddhist context is worldliness. Yeah, we're just out there. We are just totally ingratiated in just the experiences that we can see that's out there. And we're missing the origination of the experience. Yeah. So even in this moment, as I'm talking, you're looking at the screen or your phone or whatever. But can you also pull back a little bit of your attention towards, the eye faculty, literally your eyeballs? What is that experience like? If you're to move even behind that into this general seeing space that is awake and that is knowing the world in kind of the one flavor that it knows how to know the world through seeing. Can we pull that back? And behind that is that which is knowing it, that which is awake. So these are the facets that we are missing in just the act of seeing. So this is kind of the going back towards the womb, yeah, of consciousness, yeah, not just kind of being totally ingratiated in the world that's going on and by extension, the world of our default mode network, but really cultivating to be also engaged in just the origination of the knowing, the understanding. Yeah. So sometimes I like to look at it as like the arrow analogy, walking back the arrow. So it's just like I'm looking at something over there, or there's a sound and my attention goes out to hear it. We're just kind of walking back that attention from the hearing of the car or the engine, what have you, to just noticing just the sound vibration, noticing the ears, the ear consciousness, that which is knowing the hearing. And so it's kind of walking back this arrow. Our attention is constantly going outward, going outward. The arrow is shooting in all different directions. Can we pull that back? Yeah. Walk backwards down the arrow towards where it came from. So having said all that, let's actually put it into practice and hopefully make some sense of it. Allow yourself to come to a comfortable upright position. We'll be sitting for just maybe about 30 minutes tonight. Okay. Straightening up and settling in. So, as I said in the beginning, oftentimes people are given this simple contact with breath as an instruction to cultivate attention. Let's play with that. Bringing your attention to a part of the body that breathes, be it the nose, the throat, the lungs, solar plexus, belly. Any facet of that whole breathing apparatus of the body that feels appropriate for now. Starting off on that narrow focus on breath. Being present with the in breath, the top of the in breath, the out breath, the base of the out breath. Each of those phases of breath has uh, somewhat of a slightly different sensory experience. Being open, curious, accepting, equanimous of this full cycle of breath. Now then, the analogies I was giving earlier about the various seeing and the hearing, even in the breath. We have a facet of it, the feel out qualities or the pressure and pressure sensations of the air methodically entering and exiting the body. We have another facet of that, the emotive qualities, the hedonic tone, or the various mental factors that are cultivated by attending to the breath. The energy, the perseverance, qualities of mindfulness, qualities of investigation, curiosity, tranquility, concentration, equanimity. Whatever happens for you, whatever qualities you notice how it impacts the experience of mind and body as you're breathing. And there's this knowingness of the body being conscious of something in the way that it knows how, feeling, whether that's detecting, discerning the various sensations, the pressure and pressure, or the feeling, in the Buddhist sense, the pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, or more of the contemporary feeling of hedonic tones and various flavors. Just being aware of the overall feeling consciousness of the body that's aware of the breath. The body knowing it's breathing. And the more that you allow yourself to appreciate, give yourself permission to feel whatever's pleasant or enjoyable about this experience, that tends to hone concentration, sharpen attention, And if there's unpleasant things taking place, the more that we can remain open, curious, accepting, that diminishes any resistance, tension building. Now then, let's open up awareness a bit, include this mind. So we're attempting to pay attention to the breath, but also there's just the non-attention happening, the distraction, the default mode network turning on. So being open to the mind as well as the body. And from moment to moment, thoughts may arise, or they may be quiet and may be restful in the mind. I find it helpful to use the way of parsing experience. There's the images that we see as a component of thought. It's that seeing consciousness internally. And there's the component of thought that we hear, the internal talk, dialogue. That's the hearing consciousness that arises internally, as well as this feeling experience in the body. Moment by moment, there may be things happening. There may be action, may be active. And from moment to moment, it may be restful. Ain't nothing happening. That seeing consciousness is empty. That hearing consciousness is quiet. Maybe the feeling consciousness is restful. So just allow yourself to be aware of this mind body, moments of things arising and happening, and moments of things quieting down, fading, ceasing, emptying out, rest. Now then, let's allow that active to be in the background. Really lean into this experience of rest. Noticing the quietness when it occurs, of course. And the see rest, the hear rest, the feel rest. And in that rest, just in the way they were playing with all the dimensions of seeing and hearing, there is the resting of attention in the seeing, hearing experience. And there is the consciousness that is aware of that. The seeing consciousness, the one tool it has to know the world. The hearing consciousness, the one tool that it has to know the world hearing. Just being aware of the quality of awareness, the quality of consciousness. And the seeing, hearing, feeling experience. Or if you prefer to simplify, the mind body experience. Or if you prefer to simplify, resting attention and conscious awareness. However, that makes sense to you. Don't overthink it. Okay. So as we are resting in this space, there still is activity. Yeah. So noticing, can we gain a little bit more discernment about where and how this activity is originating? You know, spend a little time clarifying an experience of rest in mind and body, and sharpening, honing focus and attention on this experience, this conscious experience of mind and body. So when activity arises in mind and body, can we notice how it originates, where it originates, the image that originates within internal seeing consciousness, the inner talk that arises in inner hearing consciousness, and the various arisings of clinging, grasping, tensions that arise within the feeling consciousness of the body. And when the mind begins to get away from you, you're pulled into whatever sensory experience that's occurring. Can you walk that arrow back? Whatever is being seen, walking it back to the awareness of seeing. If something is heard, can you walk that back to the experience of the conscious attention of hearing, the consciousness, the hearing consciousness, the feeling back? What is conscious of that? And really, ultimately, there's just one consciousness that disperses, delineates into the various sense gates. Whenever the experience is, just walk the arrow back to that conscious awareness, that which is knowing of what is happening. And sometimes things may originate, a thought may originate. If we can catch it in its nascent, embryonic early stages, just the knowing of that which is beginning to emerge, it can be relinquished, released, and it just goes back into that primordial soup. These qualities of conscious awareness, open, spacious, bright, vibrant, vitalizing, compassionate, equanimous. Appreciate. Appreciate abiding in a conscious awareness. And when things begin to arise out of it, that's okay. If we clearly see it, it can move towards fading away cessation. If we don't catch it early enough and it begins to move off on its own and become a thought, walk back down that arrow from whence it came, brings you back to a conscious awareness. And maybe we can notice the fading away and cessation of the thought, which relinquishes whatever pocket of energy was bound up in that. It's recycled into a vitalizing of a conscious awareness. Okay, good. Just letting go of all technique, letting go of all specific intentions of working in any way. And just allow yourself to just feel the momentum of whatever you've cultivated thus far and allow that to just take you. Whatever is the flavor that is most calling, go with. Like a tractor beam being pulling the spaceship forward, allowing the momentum of the experience and the flavors of concentration to pull you forward. Allow the meditation to do you. And just appreciating. Even if you're in a train, you could still look out the window and notice and appreciate the landscape. Even if we are intentionally doing nothing and allowing the momentum of the meditation to pull you, you can still discern, notice the qualities that are around. Any qualities of openness, spaciousness, compassion, kindness, appreciation, equanimity, qualities of energy, perseverance, mindfulness, curious investigation, tranquility, concentration, and a deep focus. Whatever qualities you notice, just appreciate, appreciate. Okay, at ease. All right, so just recapping what we did there. We started off with focusing attention on breath. We began to kind of pull the dimensionality of that around. Yeah. So there's the breathing, just the mechanical awareness of air entering and exiting the body. There's the more of the feel in qualities, noticing of any of the pleasant sensations that arise, how it influences the body, how it influences the mind, attending to it in that way. And also just leaning into just walking the arrow back, as it were, a little bit. What is the experience of feeling consciousness, being aware of the breath, the body knowing in the way that only the body does? Then we moved on to just really incorporating the mind, and we're kind of doing somewhat of a see, hear, feel, active versus rest, a way that I like to parse out. Um, Unified mindfulness methodology, Hala Shinzen Yang. I definitely have a very strong influence from that training. Um, and I appreciate its clarity and precision, a way of working, of really being with the nuances of the mind body experience. So noticing moments by moments, just there's stuff happening, and moments by moments noticing that there's not much happening. And that could happen in various parts of seeing, hearing, or feeling. And then we start to lean into the rest. Yeah. So part of that is knowing and appreciating the lack of activity, knowing and appreciating the lack of stress that's bound up in a rest state. That is to say, ain't nothing happening in seeing, but looking at the backs of your eyelids. Ain't nothing much happening in internal hearing, but the quiet in between the ears, maybe a heightened awareness of external sound as a byproduct. And feel space, feel rest, noticing just any sensations that are predominantly restful. And you know what that is when it happens. Um, so as we can lean into the rest, then it's like, yeah, there's this sense of a quieting. Buddhist concept of concentration is, the mind coming to rest. when there's a retraction, a diminishing of the hindrances, as it were. I look at it as though there's like a fountain that's just spurting water up, and on the top there's a beach ball that's just being bounced around, and all of that hyperactivity, chaotic activity that's buoying it up. And then if that fountain is turned down, that ball will just naturally come to rest in stillness. So, in a similar way, if we can incline ourselves to notice the rest, if we can appreciate those rest states, then it's like our attention and mind kind of comes to rest, like that ball sitting um, unperturbed by the water. And that is a good place to understand or notice you know, what it's resting in. Yeah, just that awareness. Not much is happening, but there's an awakeness and aliveness and a knowing that's happening. And from that, we can notice the subtleties of movement. Oh, a thought is just beginning to germinate. There is the nescient, embryonic early phases of thinking that's happening. There's a little bit of an image bubbling up. There's a little bit of an internal talk. There's a little bit of some volitional force coming up. And if we can clearly see it, then it can move to just fading cessation. And if we don't catch it and it begins to go, we can walk that arrow back. What is it that's conscious of it? That's also a way of, how shall we say, diminishing our grasp on these things, as it were. So that's pretty much what we did. Abiding in consciousness, just abiding, appreciating, and then just allowing that to just do its thing. It's good to move from an active efforting into grace within the sitting process. The more that we can allow and yield into the activity, that's a trust that's being built in that relationship. So that's pretty much what we did there. And so that Yoniso manasikāra, the attention turning back towards the womb, as it were. Um, where's that? Did I miss that note? Um, yeah, so again, Yoniso manasikāra. So that first part coming from Yoni, meaning alluding to the womb. Yeah, in this context, the womb or the origin, you know, mano of manasakara, meaning mind, kara, in this respect, meaning a doing or an action. So, womb, origin, mind, doing, action is the literal breakdown. But if we were to transliterate it, it's more of the mind doing or directed or being in the womb of consciousness, or the origin of consciousness, as it were. So, a little bit of a way in which we can connect with that, and there's something that we can appreciate that in that as well. Again, the opposing experience is being lost in the default mode network, the mind being pulled this way and that by craving and aversion, and increasing the stress. So, the more that we can have these cultivate the palate to discern the presence of just resting in conscious attention, resting or having attention rest in the conscious awareness, then there's something inherently non-suffering about that. There's something inherently open and empty about that. And with all of that emptying out, there's definitely a spaciousness and within that a vibrancy, something life affirming, and potentially those qualities of kindness, compassion, appreciation, and equanimity. Okay, I think that about does it. So we can end with a dedication of merit. By the merits of these acts and other such virtues, may we attain a liberation for the benefit of all beings. We bow before those that come before us, after us, and to those who walk beside us on the path. All right. Be well.